Hello and welcome to Eyewitness Report on Channels Television. It's been a year of so many unforeseen occurrences, including the COVID-19 experience that virtually shut down global economy. Now, just what Nigerians were coming out of the lockdown, protesters, mainly young people, thronged the streets to demand an end to police brutality and, of course, seek justice and other social and political reforms. Now, the cruel end to that peaceful agitation has continued to generate responses as victims of the inglorious shooting of Tuesday, 20th October 2020, make attempts to tell their stories. Losses mount as shop owners count the cost of the numerous invasions by hoodlums who seized the opportunity to loot whatever they could lay their hands on. What are the lessons to learn? Where do we go from here? Join us on this episode of Eyewitness Report. I am Chris Elems.
Going for a meeting, I mean, even despite the fact that I showed them my ID card, where I work, first of all, like, how come you are running, how come you are the CEO of an organization, questions that, it's searching my phones for foreign contacts and emails. And, in fact, there was one I had, and I had to ask him, like, it's absurd for you to think that I will not have a foreign number on my phone. I mean, this is 21st century, this is 2020.
And they just drove into the streets with this normal, unidentified bus, and they just, everybody just ran into their homes. I think that was the norm. See police just run into your house, and just go and hide. So everybody just ran. I was wondering, why is everybody running and hiding? Like, you guys, is the police something now to be feared? And the guy was just going, and they just held him, and he was like, oh, what did I do? And they started slapping him, they started beating him. One even hit him with the butt of his rifle.
When I saw that they were ready to manhandle me, and I had to bring out all my documents, and I told them, even from my responses to you, you can know that, look at my dressing, everything. You don't need me to introduce myself to you before you know that I'm a responsible Nigerian. He said, I should go and sit down. All the criminals, they look better than you, they speak better than you.
The stories of police brutality were endless as SARS operatives assumed a terrifying dimension. This must end, as Nigerians, especially the youth, could not take it anymore. For days, the End SARS protesters took to the streets, calling on those in power to shut down the reign of terror.
I made mention of one thing, which my team also said that this has to go in every legal way as possible. We wrote petitions, we set out on peaceful protest, and at every point where we came to, we always made sure that we told each government official we came across that this is a peaceful protest.
When it started in Lagos on the 7th of October, it was a Wednesday, the Commissioner of Police addressed the protesters. It wasn't yet as internationally covered as it is right now. It was just about 30 odd people or thereabout, and it took hours, but the Commissioner of Police in Lagos spoke to them, addressed their concerns. That's massive. Submitted a petition. It was the impression I got, covering the protest from the first day was that this was organized by a group of people who knew what they wanted.
And one peculiar situation that happened was the lights around the National Assembly were all switched off. The lights that were there most of the time, and even if you drive by, you always see those lights there. They were switched off suddenly. So we're in darkness. We couldn't see each other. We couldn't say, oh, this was where the police officers, this was the arrangement. We saw them pointing gun at us, but we couldn't see. It was in darkness. So we just brought out our phones and we started tweeting. We just started tweeting. Mr. Macaroni was there. He went live on his IG. Just people see what is happening. You know, it was. I think if I can interpret his state of mind that night, he lost hope. I lost hope because his facial expressions, he just lied down on the ground and was, no, this is it. So, you know, we were all devastated. We all lost hope, like I would say, in Nigeria, because we felt, oh, we're not even saving our own lives. We can't even protest against this, and the same thing is happening to us. So we all lost hope.
Justice! 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 Justice!
Like wildfire, the protest, which was peaceful and fueled by the use of social media, spread across the length and breadth of the country.
Justice! 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 Everybody say justice! Everybody say justice! Everybody say justice! 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 Justice!
On October the 11th, about 4 days into the demonstration, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, announced the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS.
Following a review of the current developments and in due cognizance of the wide and legitimately held concerns of well-meaning citizens on the existence and operations of Special Anti-Robbery Squad as a responsive and citizen-oriented police force, it is hereby directed as follows. 1. The Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigerian Police, otherwise known as SARS, is hereby dissolved across all formations, the 36 state police commands, and the Federal Capital Territory, where they currently exist. 2. All officers and men currently serving in the unit are to be deployed with immediate effect. 3. New policing arrangements to address the offenses of armed robbery and other violent crimes that fall within the mandate of the dissolved Special Anti-Robbery Squad shall be presented in due course.
Leave our Lagos, go to Sambisa! Leave our Lagos, go to Sambisa! Leave our Lagos, go to Sambisa!
As far as the protesters were concerned, this sounded all too familiar. They will not be letting go of the struggle anytime soon. It was time to fight to the finish. Their 5 for 5 demands must be met.
Now we give them the power, now we will collect back the power from them. They got to respect our opinion.
Trust became an issue from the moment the government responded that they had accepted the 5 for 5 demand of the protesters. The protest itself has been growing on, has been growing. But because we don't have effective state management, nobody could see what was, or maybe the government at various levels knew what was in the offing, but they simply, either they don't care or they could not articulate policies to address youth restiveness. It has been on with us. So from the very moment the government accepted 5 for 5, a reasonable person or that normal client, the youth ought to leave the street. But the youth don't trust government. Not only the youth, the citizens don't trust government. Because the same government that will tell you you have to unite, you have to be industrious, you have to be productive. You are not saying those philosophy guiding governmental actions, policies, initiation, and implementation.
We've already given our demand of 5 for 5. That's the first step. We need the officers that have been alleged, with evidence everywhere. We should see they've been suspended, not just read it. Let's say, well, house arrest is good because we don't want them leaving the country before their hearing. We don't want any super story, so to speak. So we want to see real actions taken towards the ensuring of the interest of the 5 for 5. That's the first step. Before we go into the good governance and every other injustice that NSAS has embraced as a nation, as a body, as a youth. That's what we want, not audio reading. We don't want audio reading.
The Lekki toll gate, as well as the Alausa in Lagos, were major protest grounds. The struggle soon attracted global attention, with more celebrities filing behind the protesters by the day.
We trended for days globally, not even Nigeria or Africa, and that was all thanks to social media. We had CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, put his weight behind this movement, which sent a strong message to the international community. We had world leaders, we had celebrities putting in the hashtag, tweeting out the hashtag or saying something about it or writing something about it or even retweeting about it.
One attribute of the protest was that there was no leadership, yet it was built on a superstructure which gave seamless coordination to the struggle.
Most of our struggles as Nigerians and most of our demands are always being frustrated by people who tag themselves leaders. You look at the NLC, for example, you see, I think last month they said they wanted to call for a strike, and everybody was preparing for the strike, and before you know it, we heard leaders have gone into meeting with the government and they've called off the strike. So I think looking at these past experiences of leaders to a protest where they can just simply decide that, we've called it off without giving us tangible solutions, without giving us tangible results to all the energy that have been gathered, actually led to this being called a leaderless protest. My team actually, they decided on it right from the 7th that each place we go, anyone that wants to address us should address us by everybody. Even our spokesman, he never introduced himself most times, except he had to. He always said, "Sir, ma, my name is everybody, and we are here on behalf of the 80 million Nigerian youth." So, and I think that has been, you can see what fruits that has brought out so far.
Built a system that worked in less than 4 days into the protest. Paramedics, first responders, public attorneys, security, welfare of the citizens. And guess what? No property was stolen on the protest ground. People misplaced their things and find it in good health condition. We're not thieves, we're not corrupt. The people who say we are, that's what they are, because you can only fear what you are, not what you're not. We are not rogues, we are not thieves, we are not corrupt. We have the interests of our motherland in heart. That's why we trusted them to fight for our civil rights on the streets. We didn't expect bullets in return.
On the 20th of October, the sound of music from the protest ground was soon replaced by those from the guns of security operatives.
We are here fighting for our rights as a nation, as youths. We're fighting for our brothers in the force because they are good ones. But the bad ones have soiled and made our lives miserable, and it's taking all over. There are few good ones, by the way. It's taking all over. We're fighting for you, for your salaries, for your life, your kids. Your kids are our friends. We are praying that everything will get right, so you don't need to stop a person to ask for money. At least you will have decency, a better future. Not thugs or used as puppets to enforce injustice in your own nation and country. I'm tired of being mocked as a Nigerian. And then what we received is conspiracy, gunshots, killing us. If we are all dead, who do you want to rule? You can't rule. We are the reason why you were there. We are the power. So you can't shut us up. So that broke not just my heart, persisted.
This generated a widespread condemnation.
Literally felt huge loss. And that's not it all. The insult of it is like spitting on their bodies and peeing on their bodies for not even acknowledging the fact that something wrong happened, for not apologizing, for not admitting you're wrong. Then you spread conspiracies, put doubts. If you lost a father and a mother, a sister or a brother, and then someone comes to you and says, are you sure your dad is dead? Are you sure he didn't run away from you? What would you do?
For several days, violence, chaos and massive looting took the place of the once upon a time peaceful protest. Hoodlums had hijacked it.
Very, very unfortunate. You know, there are so many school of thoughts as to what caused the hoodlums. But then again, it shows how fragile our security system is. You know, for example, you can't tell me some group of people raiding a mall. You know, I mean, it's very hard to believe that. You know, I mean, something could not be done about it even at that time. You know, I mean, it's very hard to believe that you know, people just waited for hours and nobody could challenge them. Nobody could, and it was in the middle. It was wee hours of the morning. So I don't know. It's not it's a disappointing thing.
While the protest may have recorded several successes and failures, it has, however, left with us myriads of lessons to be learned.
And not talk of fulfilling the satisfaction of the people without talking of production. Then, most parents, people are guaranteed of that if they want food, if they need food, there will be food on the table. Not that to buy a cup of rice, maybe a family will first have to go and beg. Then the next area that the government needs to concentrate on is social investment. When you say social investment, the government all along has been misinterpreting social investment by distributing money in the form of trader money and power money and all that. Social investment is investment in education. If I'm asked to recommend from primary to secondary school, at least in Nigeria, at all levels and in every state, has to be free and made compulsory, because that is the basic education that the citizens need, which eventually prepare the citizens for higher responsibility in the society. Then education, higher education, then those who are maybe a bit intellectually sound beyond the average can now think of furthering their education. But whether somebody will be an artisan, a mechanic, a craftsman. At least let that person have basic education, primary to secondary school, so that he will not be easily misled.
States governments, including that of Lagos, have since set up a panel of inquiries into the activities of the disbanded SARS with a view to getting closure and seeking justice for victims of police brutality. But there appears to be a few more issues to be tackled.
First of all, their disposition to the inquiry. They shouldn't rush us, giving short deadlines for submission of this and that. We didn't rush them for 60 years. We complained. After every election, they promised. We gave them our hearts again, and they break it. So now this is serious. We're trying to get this right. They should give us good time to prepare ourselves and come forward.
Yes, I think what the government needs to do is to act. You know, the government has focused a lot on looking for who is spreading fake news, looking for who is doctoring videos, and I think those are unnecessary conversations. And one of the things that I have, gotten from people whose opinions I've sampled over the course of the last 17, 18 days is they think that people need to lose their jobs. That is one of the first things that needs to happen. And the reason, the cause of this, what you get from people losing their jobs is you begin to build a reconnection in the minds of the citizenry in the belief that the government is actually doing something.
The chaos that greeted the protest after hoodlums took to the street to vent their anger and frustration appeared unprecedented. Police installations, private and public property came under sustained attacks for several days, leading to jailbreaks, arson, massive looting of COVID-19 palliatives and more. According to clinical psychologist Francis Akinkunmi, proper evaluation procedure is needed by all those involved or affected. He begins by taking a look into the mindset of those who may have carried out these attacks.
Like opportunistic individuals. So as psychologists, I would describe them as someone who has opportunistic personality traits. It wasn't on the day when the shooting started that they planned what they carried out. It has been in their mind. They were looking for opportunities to actually unleash terror on people and to use that situation to amass some reward and benefit for themselves or to themselves. So if you look at it from this perspective, you are looking at some individual who started with a mind that things should work. You are also looking at some set of individuals who are having the mindset that we are going to hijack this thing, we are going to use this opportunity to gain reward or to get some benefit, which of course led to a lot of killings, a lot of destructions, a lot of loss of life and property. And this brings into the importance of working on the mind of individuals. If you have to look at even those who went there and carry out the shooting, the military personnel who shot those individuals is a function of their mindset. You know, a typical military man has been trained to go into war, but they have also forgotten that these are typical Nigerians like them. If, for example, empathy were in them, probably that wouldn't have been the way they would have reacted to the situation. Probably they would have responded rather than reacting to that situation. So the place of mindset of both those who protested, those who hijacked the situation, even the military and even the government cannot be overemphasized in this situation.
Millions of citizens were traumatized by the experience. If this is not addressed, it could leave a mark in the subconsciousness of those affected.
We are likely to have more individuals who become depressed, more individuals who become having anxiety disorders, then more individuals who will have acute stress disorder or post-traumatic stress disorders, which can affect even productivities and functioning of individuals. And not only that, we are likely to have some individuals who will even be more prone to abuse of psychoactive substances as a reaction to most of those things they are going through.
When an act is rewarded, there is the tendency for such to be repeated, he says. He wants government to not only punish perpetrators of the dastardly act, but also seek their rehabilitation.
How stable are they psychologically? For example, the person who took the shoe of the Kabiesi, where will he use it? Who will buy it from him? Are you getting me now? So somebody like that, you want to also look at how psychologically stable is this individual. Now, if you look at this dimension now, so in helping to prevent this type of thing in the future, there is need for government engagement with this group of people to rehabilitate them.
The police is a product of the same society calling for its reforms. However, the need for behavioral changes and or modification cannot be overemphasized. While the streets may have been cleared of the protesters, the hoodlums, an effect left behind. The battle for societal reforms appears to have taken another dimension as the End SARS advocates promise to sustain their demands.
This is our land. We can go elsewhere, but we will still return here. This is where we were better. This is where we are familiar with.
In a few years, what has just happened, the reawakening in the minds of Nigerians, I think that in a few years, I think it will come to proper fruition in terms of physical positivity.
Young Nigerians have spoken loud and clear and have communicated their intention to be part of a country where their government can be trusted, where human rights and dignity are respected, a society driven by productivity, and where individual potential is accorded the needed support to grow. A place where the safety and security of every citizen is guaranteed, where election counts, where the police is truly a friend. May the souls of those who died in the struggle rest in peace. Use our various platforms to reach out to us and let's tell your story together. Until then, I'm Chris Elems and I'll keep my eyes on you. Bye-bye.